All right, so Modern is where we will start things here in the finals. The number 3 seed, Tannen Grace, Caleb Durwald, and Brennan DeCandio against the number 4 seed, team of William Lowe, Lucas Michaels, and Jeremy Henry. Bant Spirits, really a deck no one expected, playing against Dredge in the middle seat.
It's a deck that Caleb expected.
Well, yeah, he played it. And I asked him why I played it. He said, simply put, he said, I play a lot of Modern. This is the deck I win the most with.
Yep. He does stream with this deck with some regularity. Popular Twitch streamer.
Yeah, starts off on Mausoleum Wanderer. We go over to Lucas Michaels.
That is one of his creatures that can actually punch through Narcomoeba. Not on its own, but just by casting putting another spirit on the battlefield that turn.
Also does some work against something like Conflagrate. Remember, you can't just exile or discard an extra card to pay. You have to pay an additional mana, which Dredge often doesn't have.
And here's an interesting decision point.
Yeah. Okay.
Michael's casting Faithless Looting. Caleb has the option to sacrifice the Wanderer to counter it.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and go for that. So no looting just yet for Michaels. Go over back to Caleb. I have to think if Lucas offered that up, he must have been okay with either outcome.
Mm-hmm. If he has something like Cathartic Reunion to follow it up.
Exactly.
He's pretty happy with that exchange. Looks like the hand does have a Collective Brutality.
Okay, so that's a way to get some Dredge going. And Caleb doesn't have a second play, or at least it doesn't look like he has a second play. Rattle Chains, of course, having Flash is looming.
Yeah. Frequently, you can just pass with mana up, cast that first Flash threat, suddenly all of his spirits have Flash.
Yeah, and you look at Lucas's hand. He's got Insolent Neonate, Collective Brutality, multiple Bloodghasts, and a Prized Amalgam. So not much Dredge, but a lot of creatures that can move out of the graveyard. It's going to take one off the Mana Confluence for Insolent Neonate. Use its ability to discard Bloodghast and just naturally draw. I wonder if he has the land. Drew into Cathartic Reunion. Here's a land. Dakmor Salvage gets back Bloodghast. He'll say go. That's a pretty tame turn there.
Mm-hmm. Though the Reunion was a very nice pickup.
Yeah, I mean, he has to make sure it doesn't get spell quelled.
Yeah, you do not want that to happen.
No, that's...
You still discard your cards. You know, it can get a Dredger into the graveyard, though. If he had that, he'd be discarding that instead of Bloodghast.
Rattle Chains on step here for Caleb. He'll untap with mana.
I like the way that Caleb white-bordered these Guru lands, but didn't bother with any of his 25-cent cards.
That's a lot of work. You know, as someone who's white-bordered some cards, Droxcall Captain will give Rattle Chains Hexproof and make Swing Over for 3. It's about like 6 minutes per card if you want to do it really nicely. You know, that's for a whole deck, for a whole 75.
That takes some time.
It's like 7.5 hours.
It's dedication to your craft.
Also, foils don't white border very well. Just in case you were wondering.
Sure. I mean, this deck isn't foil.
That's true. Bloodghast swings in. It's not going to trade with the Captain. It'll deal 2 damage. Lucas going to get to start some dredging action here. He's got Cathartic Reunion.
I think he's looking at brutalitying down that Captain.
Okay. That can definitely make sense. I guess that does get the cards in the graveyard also. So Collective Brutality, add double escalating, discarding another Bloodghast and a Prized Amalgam.
Checks for Collected Company,
Great,
too.
yeah. So Droxcall Captain's down, drains for 2 life, and he'll get to look at Caleb's hand and maybe take a card. Yeah. Big turn, especially if he has the land for that Bloodghast. This is a very big turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the 2 life, not significant in the matchup. Mostly, he just has cards he wants to discard.
And there was a Collected Company leaving Caleb with 2 fetch lands.
Yikes. Yeah, it's not just that there's Collected Company.
Play, yeah.
There's just nothing else.
Mana Confluence, Bloodghast out of the graveyard, Prized Amalgam out of the graveyard, and a pass. Good, a big turn for Lucas Michaels. Now Caleb's playing off the top of the deck. He'll swing for 2, put Lucas to 14. Then he passes. 7 power in play for Lucas Michaels. Got 2 mana confluences, so he has to be careful as to how much he actually wants to cast right here.
Yeah. I mean, Caleb does still just have another land in hand. You don't know. Maybe he's drawing a spell. I suppose Geist of St. Traft is your biggest fear.
Yeah, swinging for 7, Caleb will go down to 8.
Without Dredgers, I don't know how meaningful it is to flashback this Faithless Looting. Taking 1 for Reunion is pretty reasonable, though.
All right, here's the rest of the hand. Discard to Faith to Cathartic Reunion. He doesn't have any dredgers, so he's actually just casting Cathartic Reunion for what it does. Discard 2, draw 3.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Discarded a second Cathartic Reunion.
All right.
Nothing like another Blood Gas. No real value gained. But you do get to draw 3, and that's not bad.
And Neonate's going to be the play for Lucas Michaels.
And fetch for Caleb. You got to figure if it was for a 4th mana for Collected Company, it would have happened in combat.
Well, Neonate's actually the 8th point of power here, so I can put... It will help him make sure this next attack is lethal. Caleb with a draw still has 1 fetch land that they know about. And just really needing that Collected Company. We see 2 more lands. It looks like a Spell Queller as his last card. But that's unlikely to do enough.
Yeah, that is too little too late.
Now tapped Breeding Pool. Actually, it's just a Drogskull Captain. So they did pick up 2 in this game. That Collective Brutality is really where it turned, though. And you see an end step, a Dredge from Lucas Michaels with that Neonate. Discards the Stinkweed Imp, then Dredge 5 to put it back in his hand. Gets Dark Blast, Faithless Looting. 5 more cards here in the graveyard. Another card from the Dredge and Dark Blast. That will clear the way for what is potentially a lethal attack.
The Drogskull Captain will cover that, as Caleb can flash that in, but he's still not doing great.
Narcomoeba and Golgari Thug and dredged off the Dark Blast. Right, Drogskull Captain does have flash thanks to Rattle Chains, so it can actually protect the Rattle Chains. Nice interaction there. And Lucas is going to get a 3rd Bloodghast out of the graveyard. This one has haste. Ghost attacks. Here's a swing. And I like this. So if Caleb can't, he can go to 1. Because if he flashes Drogskull Captain to play, then Lucas will pull the trigger on the Dark Blast. So he blocks, flashes Captain into play. This means Rattle Chains will trade, well, not really trade, we'll see, with the Prized Amalgam.
Even with this happening, Michael is just maintaining all these blood gas. Caleb really just needs to draw a Collected Company.
I don't even know at this point if that matters.
Right.
6 damage coming in. So he'll allow the trade to happen. He'll put Caleb to 1. Yeah, trade goes through. And looks like he'll just pass the turn. Could flashback, I suppose, a Faithless Looting. Might as well do that. He'll go down to 10.
Sure. Has some dredging he can do, or actually, just Stinkweed Imp.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's a lethal attacker.
Yeah.
Caleb's going to pick up the cards. So, game 1 of the finals is in, and it's Lucas Michaels with Dredge up game 1 on Caleb Durwald.
In pretty convincing fashion there.
Yeah, well, things were close up until that Collective Brutality. What I think was interesting there is Lucas Michaels did very little dredging that game. He more or less just discarded some Bloodghasts and then brought them back, and that was enough.
Yeah. Well, Bloodghast, he had the extra Prized Amalgam. This stuff's all free.
All right, well, we will see what happens in game 2 when we come back. Caleb Durwald will be on the play in just 1 minute. So we're back here looking at the sideboards in Modern. Operation Get Tannen a Trophy had met a snag when we left. Now it's met 3 of them, and that's game 1 of every match.
That's not a good start.
I know. Well, they're going to have to rally. They need at least 4 of these next games. We'll look over at Caleb Durwald's sideboard. 3 Negate, 2 Stony Silence. Well, of course, 2 Rest in Peace. 2 Mirren Crusader, 2 Kazali Pride Mage, an Engineer Explosives, a Settle the Wreckage, a Roxor Monk, and an Eidolon of Rhetoric.
So the 2 Rest in Peace are clear slam dunks.
Yeah.
Settle the Wreckage, also very good in this
I
matchup.
actually really like that here. Lucas is usually turning all his things sideways and doesn't really have basics.
Particularly on the play, you can reach for some negates.
Okay.
They can deal with Cathartic Reunion or maybe a Lethal Conflagrate.
And now to fight back, Lucas has some cards of his own. He had 1 Collective Brutality main, and it really won him that game 1. He can board up to 2 more. He has 2 Ancient Grudges, 2 Abrupt Decays, 2 Ravenous Traps, 2 Lightning Axes, a Thoughtseize, a Surgical Extraction, a 2nd Dark Blast, a Gnaw to the Bone, and a Destructive Revelry.
The Dark Blast seems great.
Right.
The Collective Brutality is also pretty good, the ability to hit those collected companies out of the hand. Then you could reach for Lightning Axe and or Abrupt Decay, just a little bit to disrupt.
Well, you got to remember, he knows about these Rest in Pieces, so maybe he has to have Abrupt Decay?
Yeah, because you have a counterplay there, you probably do want to reach for that.
Do you want Destructive Revelry? Are you that scared of that card? I mean, it's very good against the deck.
Yeah, because you just kind of lose if he has it, you probably do want to reach for that.
So we'll see those coming in from Lucas Michaels. You see all the teammates here discussing sideboards. Caleb will be on the play this time. He was able to keep pace with what was a not an explosive draw. Lucas was really playing a value game and really just sealed it on a Collective Brutality.
Yeah, had a heavy blood gas draw, a prized amalgam to accompany them. And those slower draws without dredgers, they can still be good enough.
All right. So, see Caleb here. He's confident. He knows what he's doing here. Don't know that we see a Rest in Peace, but looks like he's going to keep anyway.
Conferring with the Tannen Grace.
All 3 matches here shuffling up for the 2nd game.
Caleb's going to send it back.
Okay, so no keep there. Now Lucas Michael's going to take a look.
Dredge is a deck that often does mulligan once or twice.
Yeah, it certainly has the flexibility to. It won, and it will take a mulligan here. A lot of its hands don't play. They just don't have enough land or don't do anything. But that said, its 5-card hands oftentimes do lots of things.
Yes. Land Faithless Looting. Already good enough base land for a 5-card hand. Then you either have the Dredger already or it's on top of your deck. It's great. Even just like 2 lands, Faithless Looting, and Bloodghast, Prized Amalgam, that's a great hand. It's just 5 power for 1 mana. Potential for even upside, depending what you draw with the looting.
Six cards each here.
Caleb does keep. Quickly scries to the bottom.
Lucas checking with his teammates. He'll keep as well. No, he's going to go to 5. With Caleb keeping as fast as he did, you might wonder whether or not you're going to have to beat a Rest in Peace this game.
And you do see varying degrees of aggressive mulliganing for Dredge players when it comes to counterplay for Graveyard Hate.
Yeah.
With face-up sideboards, And knowing that Abrupt Decay plays against Rest in Peace, that does make you a little bit more confident in mulliganing, make sure you have something like that. It's also still possible that the 6-card hand was just not functional.
Okay. He only has up to 3 pieces of counterplay, so can't be too picky on them. Down to 5 is Lucas Michaels. And it's got Faithless Looting and a land here, so it's likely that he keeps.
Yeah, I think it was a Golgari Thug as well.
Yeah, that'll play. Scries to the bottom. All right, game 2 is underway. Caleb Durward going to be on the play. Starts with Noble Hierarch. Go over to Lucas Michaels. And the only land Dakmar salvaged looks like to start. And for Caleb, there may not be a Rest in Peace, but he has that uncontested Noble Hierarch, so he can make some pretty good inroads here already, just ramping into a 3. Collected Company is in his hand, so we can power out.
Yeah, turn 3 Company, that's a lot of value sometimes. And we'll see if he had like turn 2 Geist of Saint Traft. Then he could possibly run away with this one.
And okay, there it is. Turn 2 Geist to Saint Traft.
That is a nice one to have on the play.
Yeah. Let's see if Lucas can make an answer to it. Now, does he have a way to actually kill Geist of Saint Traft? I mean, he can make some blockers, but I don't know that he can answer this.
It pretty much comes down to blockers.
Stinkweed Imp?
Right.
That's what we're looking at?
Yeah, the death touchy blocker.
Like it's Caleb's going to go ahead and hit Lucas with the deck box. That's what the angel looks like for him. So puts Lucas down to 14. He missed the second land. There we go. Okay, we have an angel.
Showed up right in time to leave.
One more draw for Lucas. That's Golgari Thug. He's going to pass.
This Collected Company is very likely to find lethal attackers.
Yeah, in no time here.
Actually, I don't know about lethal. Yeah, it's going to be a 2-turn clock most likely.
Yeah, it'll be something that is going to win the game. Looks like Caleb will put his team on the board here. Lucas keeping a speculative 5 that did not convert.
Unless Caleb missed his Exalted trigger. Lucas is at 13.
Yeah, he's going to pick up, Drogskull Captain, Mausoleum Wanderers. All right, so game 2, Caleb Durward will pick that one up. That puts his team on the board.
All right.
They're going to go back to the books here for game 3.
Team needs at least 3 more. Caleb would like to just have an easy 7-card Rest in Peace hand here. We'll see what he's able to present. Players revisiting sideboard. Yeah, Michaels lost that game even without Graveyard Hate. So you do like that about Caleb's position here. The turn 1 Noble, turn 2 Geist, that can just be too much. Certainly when you follow up with Collected Company.
All right, so they're shuffling again. That game didn't really start. While they do, we're going to take a look over at Tannen Grace. He's down a game on William Lowe. You see right now against Turbo Depths, he's playing Grixis Delver here. Yeah. And really catching most of the game.
It looks like Tannen was duressed. And just to clarify, life total is not currently correct. This is a fresh game. I believe that William Lowe would be at 20 and Tannen would be at 19 as a fetch land appears to be in the graveyard. Looks like Tannen has access to Young Pyromancer with a Force of Will in hand. Gitaxian Probe as well.
All right. So
looks like Tannen's going to be going for a turn 2 Young Pyromancer.
Sure, it makes sense here. So Young Pyromancer is going to be a threat here on the board for Tannen.
He'll be able to sequence that into Gitaxian Probe. Has a Force of Will backup.
All right. Yeah, and those pieces of interaction, those Force of Wills, really are a commodity. Tannen has trouble in this matchup, I think, winning faster than the combo can happen.
Right.
So here's Young Pyromancer. He'll take a look, get a token, go down to 16. Take a look at William's hand. We have Crop Rotation, Elvish Spirit Guide, and 4 lands. One of them's Thespian Stage. So there's the potential to have Dark Depths and Thespian Stage, but he needs that Crop Rotation to resolve in order to do it.
Right.
You mentioned Tannen having a Force of Will. They may fight over that.
Oh, yeah. There's no way you don't. Especially when you know about the Thespian Stage.
Sure.
Pressure on low to produce something like another Duress or Thoughtseize. Wants to get any disruption out of hand.
Right.
We didn't see when the Duress resolves. We don't know what he left Tannen with.
Well, William did just draw Dark Depths.
Okay, when you draw Dark Depths, it kind of makes sense just to play the Thespian Stage and kind of set up that way. Though he's going with Verdant Catacombs. I suppose he doesn't want to expose to Wasteland.
Yeah, and there is a Wasteland in Tannen's hand.
Possibly
which
that's something
he knows about it from Duress. Yeah, otherwise I don't think that play makes sense.
Sure.
Cabal Therapy, a pickup for Tannen.
That is nice.
Yeah, you can get all the cards that way.
Yeah, well, certainly the Crop Rotation. Don't know if he cares
one way
about
or the other, yeah, he'll get the
yeah.
Crop Rotation.
Don't know if he cares about the Spirit Guide, but you name that once this Crop Rotation happens.
All right, Cabal Therapy gets an Elemental token. I mean, Williams should respond here. He's going to lose the Crop Rotation if he doesn't.
It's possible he just wants to maintain that land.
Okay.
He has both combo lands in hand. But with so many lands, he probably does just want to.
Well, my thought, yeah, I mean, he's right now covered in a couple of ways. Yeah, he'll just lose the Crop Rotation. Tannen will name it. It says Dark Depths is the new card. Well, Tannen's just got a lot of control. He still has the Force of Will. He has the Wasteland in hand.
Mm-hmm.
William could have cast Crop Rotation. It would have perhaps gotten the Force of Will out of Tannen's hand, but then he'd be down on... You never want to really run that into a counterspell. You'd lose a land over it.
Yeah, and the Force of Will, it doesn't play against just setting up Dark Depths and Thespian Stage, making land drops.
Swinging for 3, William down to 17.
And you can't force the Wasteland just by having half the combo.
Ooh, he's an action fetch for Dryad Arbor. Looks like he's going to try to ambush that Young Pyromancer.
And if this was a Lightning Bolt, Tannen would be moving faster. He's thinking about brainstorming before he loses Young Pyromancer. And this attack, this is going to cost Tannen.
Yeah, maybe a misstep there. We'll see. He gets another Elemental with this Brainstorm and actually picks up another Wasteland. So, yeah, you kind of wish he'd played the Wasteland pre-combat.
Mm-hmm. One thing about that is if you expose it, then suddenly William can do something like Crop Rotate for his Ghost Quarter.
Okay, so there is a cost. At one point, if he loses his Young Pyromancer to the Dryad Arbor, that might be okay for Tannen.
He does still have a few points of power on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So it's not the end of the world. But it does slow him down quite a bit.
Yeah, so Young Pyromancer trades off with Dryad Arbor. But 3 Elementals in play for Tannen. All right. So Wasteland in play, Tannen's in a good spot right now. We're going to jump back over to the modern match where players are ready to go for Game 3. This is Caleb Durward and Lucas Michaels. Has been some mulligans here on the play. Lucas Michaels has kept 6. Caleb is 5 on the draw. So this is actually the flip of what we had last game.
Right.
And we'll start out. Lucas Michaels, Gemstone Mine into Faithless Looting.
And if you're a Caleb Durward fan, pretty much hoping he has Rest in Peace in these 5 cards.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nice part, right? Even though Caleb has 5 cards, if one of them is Rest in Peace, I mean, that can just win.
Potentially, this Faithless Looting can get in front of it, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get a lot of creatures in the battlefield on turn 2 before Rest in Peace can even come down.
Golgari Thug and Life from the Loam in the graveyard here. We see Mausoleum Wanderer for Caleb. Look at that, Settle the Wreckage in his deck. He has boarded it in, not in his hand, though. Mention how that one could be a surprise in the matchup. I suppose it's not a surprise anymore. They have deck lists.
Right, yeah.
Caleb said it was great for him in testing. He has boarded it in a lot this weekend, but never drawn it.
Dredge can present so many creatures that once you know about the settle, it can be easy to just make an attack that respects it and still win.
The hard thing is when your opponent's a collected company deck, expecting it's really difficult because they frequently pass with 4 mana up. I
Yeah.
do like how it interplays there.
Right.
Narcomoeba on the dredge of Golgari Thug comes out of the graveyard. For Lucas, also gets another Thug, so he'll have next turn's dredge set up.
Lucas does have one of his Narcomoebas in hand.
Yeah, his hand actually looks just to be a Narcomoeba, lands, and that Thug he dredged, so not too bad. Caleb draws here. Does he have the Rest in Peace? Here's land 2, swings for 1. Swings for 1. All right, he's offering a trade here?
Representing Rattle Chains.
Well, that wouldn't... Oh, yeah, Muslim Water would pump. Okay, fair enough. And Lucas will take it. Rattle Chain's going to happen anyway. No Rest in Peace, though. Lucas Michaels takes some damage.
I have noticed that's kind of the worst thing about Rattle Chains is that it's not Rest in Peace.
That is the word.
That's probably its greatest weakness.
Instead, it's Rattle Chains.
Right.
Now Caleb's other spirits in hand will have Flash. Or maybe cast as though they had Flash. Back over to Lucas.
Attention Magic players.
Gonna keep dredging. He's hoping to find something.
Given enough time, he certainly will.
Yeah, I mean, he can't exactly flash back that Faithless Looting yet, because Mausoleum Wanderer will take it. Stinkweed and Prized Amalgam, Life from the Loam. He's got more dredgers, and now an Amalgam's in the graveyard. He doesn't yet have a way to get it out of the graveyard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his odds have gone down a little bit, seeing as he's already drawn an Narcomoeba, and he's already triggered another. Though, there's still 4 Bloodghast in the deck and 2 more Amoebas.
Mm-hmm. Now he has Stinkweed Imp, his best dredger in the graveyard. Gemstone Mine. He's going to go for Faithless Looting on flashback. I assume Caleb will counter.
And he does.
All right.
Without that Wanderer, though, Caleb might have some difficulty attacking into this Narcomoeba.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's something. You mentioned that before, too, that just Narcomoeba is good against Caleb's deck. He has trouble attacking. Caleb did pick up Spell Queller as he makes his 3rd land, something that could definitely help him out here. Lucas Michael is going to likely dredge that Stinkweed Imp.
Yeah, I would imagine. When you're not facing down Graveyard Hate, you generally don't take a natural draw with this deck.
Yeah, and here is Stinkweed Imp. If Lucas hits enough of the graveyard interaction, these counterspells aren't going to matter. Cathartic Reunion, and Narcomoeba on the 5th card. That's a creature that will come out of the graveyard, triggering that Prized Amalgam. Hit another Faithless Looting as well. That's something he could use. He has to suspect Spell Queller, Caleb passing with mana up.
Mm-hmm. And currently with one of those Gemstone Mines on 1 counter, use that to flash back the looting, you do lose it. Does have Dakmore Salvage in hand, though. A 2nd copy.
Goes to flashback Faithless Looting. Yes, Caleb will pull the trigger on Spell Queller.
Spell Queller can attack into an Narcomoeba, even 2 of them. Does have a lot of work to do yet. Michael's still at 18. He's just going to keep dredging. Caleb draws a land, a Collected Company next turn, and Lucas has 1 more turn of not great dredges. Caleb's still in it, but I think his odds are pretty long.
We will see. Yeah, I mean, he can always find a Rest in Peace. Still has 2 in the deck.
It's just 1 good dredge away from being just not good enough.
Yeah, from breaking it open.
Yeah, once Michaels has some Bloodghast and some Prized Amalgams, Rest in Peace just stops mattering.
Sure. Here is the Spell Queller, hits the flashback Faithless Looting.
This is a funny interaction.
Okay.
Frequently, if you counter a flashback spell, a popular interaction in Modern is to remand a flashback spell.
Yeah, then it's gone forever,
it's
right?
exiled forever. But with Spell Queller, it exiles the spell, it doesn't counter it,
So they get it back?
So the spell shows up on the Queller. If the Queller dies, it's just going to go back into Michael's. He's going to cast it, and it's going to go into his graveyard.
So he gets the front half again if he
Correct.
comes back. Oh,
Yep.
That's less good. Swings in for 2, Michael's down to 16. So you could end up getting 3 Faithless Lootings off 1 Faithless Looting if your opponent spell quells it for you.
Indeed. Dredge not full of too many removal spells. I don't believe we have seen a Conflagrate at this point yet, but dredging life from the loam, Michael's is setting up. He can make a big one when he finds it.
And a swing for 4 from Lucas Michaels.
Looks like no blocks here.
No blocks here. An update, Tan and Grace did get that game that we started on over there, so it's 1 game apiece over in Legacy. The team of Grace, Durwald, and DeCandio mounting that comeback.
Yeah, we'll see if DeCandio can even it up as well. The way this modern match is going,
Yeah, it's
seems like he has to.
all right. Life from the Loam, 3 lands back for Lucas Michaels. And now it's the Bloodghast with Prized Amalgam. You're right. It's Rest in Peace not seeming like it'll be enough anymore.
Some potential to find a 4th land and settle the wreckage and have that matter.
Okay, yeah, the sideboard Settle the Wreckage could still get him something.
It relies on slim odds and Lucas playing into it.
So Bloodghast back off the Gemstone Mine. 2 more mana. Just casts an Archamoeba. Sure, that's into play.
It's just a good creature in the matchup.
Yeah. And Caleb's going to flash a Selfless Spirit into play on end step. Got Lucas to 16, but he's behind, both on the board and on life totals. Draws another Collected Company. That's not going to play here. Actually draws Rest in Peace. So here it is. Rest in Peace trigger. Both graveyards gone. This was part of what he did. You know, you mentioned this is too late, and you're not wrong. If he can draw land, settle the wreckage before dying, he's fine.
Yeah. He does hold off the Narcomoebas on blocks reasonably well.
Yeah, those Prized Amalgams, though, that's what's going to be tough.
Those are the problem. If he finds land for Collected Company, though, he can
Maybe.
deal with that.
Yeah, if it's like 2 Drogskull captains, maybe you can just outsize them all.
Yeah. Even just like another Spell Queller, so you can get a 2/3, combine it with some other creature.
Yeah, I think I'd really like to see one of them as a captain, so then he can start having 3/4s.
Captain would be ideal. Good chance he needs to find land at next turn, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot right now. There is 11 power in play for Lucas Michaels, so it's already forcing blocks here.
Caleb does get 1 turn of using the Rattle Chains to get in front of something, blocking with the Queller, and using the Selfless Spirit after blocking something to make the other 2 indestructible.
And the stakes just got a lot higher on the standard table. Jeremy Henry wins the match 2 games to 0, so now Caleb has to come back here.
Mm-hmm. And it's not over yet. Michael's trying to line up attacks here. He does not want to throw away too many creatures. Now that you're in a position where Rest in Peace is on the battlefield and they don't come back, you do have to be more careful with them. If you can draw something like a sideboard Abrupt Decay to deal with the Rest in Peace, it changes the game entirely.
Yeah. 6 cards in hand. Got some Golgari Thugs. I mean, it's not sure that this attack works that well for him, but Lucas doesn't have other angles here.
Right.
Right? You know, he doesn't just want to start passing the turn. Caleb will come back if he does that.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to give him too much time here.
all-out swing for Lucas Michaels.
I was pretty sure that was what it was going to come to.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not another good option. You see here, Caleb's going to try to trade as much as he can. Spell Queller in front of Bloodghast. And it's actually going to take 3. Going to let the Selfless Spirit go. Now debating maybe a double block, get rid of a prized amalgam. I like this the most. He's going to take 5. He'll lose his Selfless Spirit. And Lucas will lose a prized amalgam.
Yeah, this is a good setup. Maintains the Rattle Chains and the Queller. The Queller just blocks Dark Amoeba well.
Yeah.
And the Rattle Chains can trade with one
So
inevitably.
block here, indestructible on the creatures. So Caleb drops to 6. 1 prized amalgam gone. Caleb needs the land for Collected Company right now.
Hoping not to draw something like a Razorverge Thicket.
Yeah, it has to be untapped. Lucas is just going to make more little creatures. Golgari Thug, another Golgari Thug. These are 1/1s for 2. Let's cast them all.
I like the mismatched Golgari Thugs.
Drogskull Captain, the draw for Caleb. So he's going to have 3 blockers to 7 attackers. He says go. Now that means 4 of them get through, but there are 4 1-power attackers, so it's not completely out of the picture.
Captain means Spell Queller can profitably block Amalgam.
Yeah.
Rattle Chains and the Captain could get in front of some of these 1/1s.
Swing with everything from Lucas. Caleb flashes in Drogskull Captain. So Amalgam and Queller. He can't afford to lose a blocker here if possible. So he could take 5, go to 1, and keep all his creatures. Looks like he's willing to trade off Rattle Chains. So he'll take 4, go to 2 here. He'll lose his Rattle Chains, and Lucas will lose 3 attackers. This isn't that bad. Caleb might stabilize.
If he stays at 2, that leaves Fetch Land as a live 4th land for the Collected Company.
Okay.
So that's the justification for blocking the Bloodghast here.
Sure. He'll block this way. So takes 4, goes to 2. He loses 1 creature. Lucas loses 3. Unless, does Lucas have a play? I mean, if Lucas has something like an Abrupt Decay, the game's just over.
Kind of weird not seeing that before blockers are declared.
Yeah. Caleb down to 2. Lucas he's losing a lot of material. And Caleb might be stabilized if Lucas has nothing else.
Got at least a Stinkweed Imp still.
Okay, that's another attacker. Right now it's just, he's going to have 5 attackers next turn. Caleb needs to produce 2 blockers. Here's Stinkweed Imp. And another land. I'll say go. And remember, Confligator off the top at any point wins. Caleb draws. He promised if he fetches to go to 1. And I don't think that's it. I think he hit negate. He's going to pass. If Lucas turns everything sideways here, they're going to win the tournament.
And that's what he's been doing. You got to figure he'll stay on
Yeah.
plan.
Got to not flinch and stay on target. 2 more. It's a Bloodghast. That has haste. That makes this attack much easier. It resolves all of them sideways. And that's going to be it. Your champions here in Philadelphia are William Lowe, Lucas Michaels, and Jeremy Henry. With Dredge, he seals the deal, defeating Caleb Durwald in the finals.